Hi everyone, welcome into my studio. Today I'm going to show you a step-by-step process of how I paint a nice pastel beach scene. I already have liquid white up on the canvas and I put some masking tape up around the edges. I thought it would look kind of nice having a little border around this one. We're doing kind of a pastel beach scene. To start off today, we're going to use Phthalo Blue. On the end of the brush, just tap into the color to get it evenly distributed into your brush. You don't want to have too much built up in one spot and not enough in others. So just kind of tap it in. Now working from the top down, we're going to do some crisscross strokes and apply our Phthalo Blue, starting from the corner and working down. The harder that you push with the brush, the more that the paint is going to come off. So you can make it as blue or as little blue as you would like. Just getting it kind of evened out a little bit to where I like it. I'm going to grab a little bit more, but this time I'm going to combine with a little bit of Phthalo Green. Phthalo Green and Phthalo Blue. Doing a little X pattern on the easel or on the palette. Now starting again up in the corner, I'm going to use those two colors and work them down. So this is going to be our darkest corner up here, and the rest is going to kind of fade into a less blue. You can add as much or as little color as you want. Make sure to use your own creative freedom here. All right, that's about how I like it. I'm just gonna go in and grab a new brush. I have a 1-inch brush here. I'm gonna go into the alizarin crimson and titanium white. Decide kind of roughly where your horizon line is going to be, and we're going to start with that there. Doesn't have to be exactly straight. We're just putting in the color, and we're going to mix it with the liquid white that we already have on our canvas. Right now I'm doing kind of a long cross pattern here, so I am still making X's. They're just nice and long because I think the horizon line here, we want to keep it nice and flat, and as we move up we can kind of build some of that angle. Now when I was down here I was pressing pretty hard with the paint, but I'm letting up on the brush here so that I get less to come off. I don't want it to be too bright. Just right up to the line of that Phthalo Green and Phthalo Blue. We'll kind of just work right up into that nice and soft X pattern. Oop. We're going to have some clouds here, so I'm just going to kind of work in a little bit more texture where I know that there's going to be some already. That'll just help us out later. And while we still have that paint on the brush, I'm just going to work a little bit of that down into what's going to be our water. I'm working in horizontal strokes for the water here very exclusively. Next I'm going to pick back up my dirty brush I was using for the sky and just kind of clean that off by whatever is left on there in the blues. We'll just apply it here in this blank space. This is called conditioning the canvas. It's just going to make everything later on a little bit easier for us, so we're blending and harmonizing the colors on the palette. For applying the color down here on the bottom, you always want to start on the edges and move in. If we start here, we're gonna have a ugly line there and we don't want it, but it's okay if you do get that, you can just work it out. I'm gonna grab just a little bit more color to make this corner a bit darker here. And a little bit darker on this other side as well. I'm just using Phthalo Blue and Phthalo Green here, a little bit more with the Phthalo Blue on the bottom right now. All right, let's pick up a clean 2-inch brush, our blending brush. Starting at the horizon, we're gonna do X strokes. And just, I'll slow it down for you. I'm doing a really small X pattern here just to get these colors to be really soft. And I like to move a little bit up and down so that you don't have a thin line across here. You get a little bit of blending of all of that. It just gets nice and soft for you. But you can blend it as much or as little as you want. Stop with whatever works for you and makes you happy. Just trying to soften this bit up here and move some of this pink up a little bit. Really soften the line between that blue and crimson. Should make a little bit of a gray color here, which is what we want. The crimson and Phthalo Green will make a little bit of a gray. With the blue, we're gonna get kind of a lavender. So that's what we'll see up here. Now working up into this blue color, I'm still kind of working on this angle here as our horizon line is somewhere down in this area. We're just getting out the brush strokes and evening up this color so it looks nice and soft. I'd really like to know if you're painting this one at home. Be sure to leave a comment down below. All right, seems pretty well blended. I think I'm gonna try and go with that. Now we're just gonna blend across the bottom here where the water is. Just get that all combined. All right, I'm gonna take my Filbert brush, go right into the titanium white and the Indian yellow. Just gonna get a little bit of sunshine color here and pop that into our painting. Now we have to be really careful. We don't want any of this yellow to be mixing with the blue that we have up here, but it's real safe in this gray space. Carve out a little bit more yellow. All right. Go ahead and take your brush you applied your alizarin crimson with, and we're going to kind of blend out this sunshine here. I'm just using that same stroke side to side. Just really, really want to soften these colors so you don't really know where one ends and the other one begins. Nice and soft. Kind of gives you a little bit of an orange sunshine. You can just tell it's back there. Move it up a little bit into that area. And I'm actually going to take some more of that. Let's take some Indian yellow and alizarin crimson on the brush. A little more Indian yellow. We're just gonna apply that right here. A little goes a long way, so we'll just plop in just a little bit there. I like it. Big blending brush. Next pattern. All right. It's a nice looking sky there, I think. What it really needs is some clouds. Let's pick up our fan brush. And we'll start with some alizarin crimson and phthalo blue and white. We're going for a lavender color, a little more blue. There we go. I'm just gonna wiggle the fan brush around to put in some clouds wherever I think they might be. Pick up a little more paint. We got one over here. There it is. Just tapping and moving the brush around, keeping it kind of in this horizontal way. We've got a real thick paint here, so it's going to stick to what we have on the canvas because we just mixed a little bit with the liquid white. Get a few more little dooders in here. Now we have this real nice lavender color on the brush. Once we move up into the sky, it's going to turn a little bit more blue. That's what we want. So let's take our brush and just dance in wherever you think there ought to be some clouds. I'm just going to show you how to do it, so you get to decide how you want yours to look. This is your world. That's what Bob would say, at least. Just twirling and moving your brush. Pick up some more paint. I'm going to go ahead and make this just a little bit more blue on the clouds. Just with that same color we had, just tint it just a tiny bit more as we're moving up in the sky. Nice. Just scrub some paint in. There's really no rhyme or reason. There's no wrong way to put in a cloud. All right, with the blending brush, we're just gonna blend out the bottom of that cloud, working in a little swirl, going in different directions. Try not to just always go in the same circular pattern. Just move it around and just soften up those clouds there. Real soft. These ones, I'm tapping them out a little bit. I just don't want to really see all of the brush strokes all the time, so we're just going to soften them out. It really helps to make them look real, like they're moving and swirling around in the sky. I'm going to wipe off my brush. Just drag these clouds. Yeah, that's cool. Down here. Moving in the direction down toward the horizon here. lift. Just lightly putting the edge of the brush and lifting up on those clouds and soften them out. Moving up into this blue sky, we'll do the same thing. Soften. Blend them out a little bit. Lift them up. Everybody needs a good lift sometimes. Even clouds. All right, let's put some highlights on those clouds. Got my dirty fan brush. I'm just gonna wipe it out real quick on my rag. Wasn't really quick, but you might need a little bit of liquid white for this to get these colors to stick together, but just keep it handy. And we're gonna drag our fan brush through the titanium white with that color that we already had on the brush. It should be a little bit of lavender, kind of a crimson color. And we're just gonna lighten it up with some bright red. Now red kind of does the opposite of more dulls the color, but we don't want to use the bright white because that just doesn't seem realistic. The eyes don't quite fall for it. So this is a pretty thick paint. I'm gonna grab a little bit of liquid white and just barely thin it down a little bit. I'm taking my brush. I'm just going to push up. I think the sun is probably right in that area. In fact, we can go ahead and put it in. I'm just tapping a little bit of titanium white in there. Big blending brush. Just soften it. Right. Working on the top of these clouds, we'll just tap on some highlights. I'm just pushing the brush up on the corner, and it leaves this real fun paint texture. We'll touch on a good bit of these clouds with this lighter pink color. Be sure to pick up more liquid white if you need your color to stick. Tiny little bit over here. Now I'm going to do the same thing, but with kind of a little bit more of the cloud color in it. We're just going to darken it a little bit. Alizarin crimson, phthalo blue, and white. So we've got kind of a grayish blue, grayish lavender color. And we'll throw on some highlights on these clouds up here. Now the light's coming from the bottom, so we're doing this a little different. We're pushing down with the fan brush. And because this paint is thinner, it'll stick to what we have already applied. A little bit more here. Go back to a little bit of a redder tones, this pinker cloud. And just tapping around and flexing that brush, you can get these clouds to just fall right off. Now I think it would look nice with just one more cloud in there. Crimson, maybe in yellow. kind of a peach cloud. I'm just gonna kind of dance it in. Go. We've got our mostly clean 2-inch brush here. Just keep reusing it. And we're gonna soften out the bottom of these clouds where the highlight meets the cloud. Just kind of give it a good swirl. Make sure to mix it up real good. All right, looking real nice. We're almost done with the sky. Just keep softening those clouds until you get them to look just the way you like. Be sure to step away from your canvas and take a little look before you decide you're all done. Just gonna lift and soften all the clouds now. Really want a nice soft sky today. All right, I think that's good. Right, we can always come back to the sky and add a little bit more as the rest of it kind of dries a little bit. We're going to move down to the second half of the painting. We're going to take the Filbert brush, Phthalo Blue, Prussian Blue, Midnight Black. Get those colors mixed up on the brush and grab up a little bit of Phthalo Green. We want all of the dark blues today. Prussian Blue, Phthalo Blue, Phthalo Green, and Midnight Black. Get a nice dark color on the Filbert brush here. We're just going to outline a little bit of what we are kind of thinking for the sky. I'm just going to do a little bit of an outline of what I think to set myself up for this ocean scene. So this is going to be kind of our water line. We'll have another wave. And we'll probably do one more wave right out here. And then we have this big dark bit here. I did pick up some Dyke Brown with that dark mixture of Midnight Black, Prussian Blue, Phthalo Blue, and the Phthalo Green. This is going to be kind of our sandy area. Dyke Brown, Midnight Black. All your dark colors really mixing in here onto this dark bit. And we're going to let it fade up as we get higher into softer. Now the next thing we're going to do is put in what they call the trough of a wave. So it's going to be the dark bit of the wave. Hopefully we'll be able to do this right. I haven't done too many wave scenes in a while, so we'll see how it goes. We're all learning. And you guys get to learn with me today. And I'm just getting all of my dark colors here. Really, really, really want a super dark color. And then we're gonna blend this out. So we're gonna work in that trough kind of, I'm just doing a rocking motion with our dark color in a flat rock, just going up and back. Just working in what's going to be the base of this wave, the real dark point. Okay, we'll do that to all of our dark areas here. And it should be smaller on this edge and a little bigger on this corner here. Real small troughs there, and getting a little bit bigger as we move closer to us. I'm just rocking that brush back and forth, being sure to keep these as horizontal as possible while also rocking the brush. I know that seems kind of counter, but give it a go. Phthalo Green, Phthalo Blue, Prussian Blue. Nice dark colors here. I'm just gonna try and darken this up even more. Now remember, we have liquid white on the canvas, so we're always blending with that liquid white. A little darker now. More midnight black, Prussian Blue. I'm gonna really get that in there, nice and dark. We're just going to flatten out this line. We don't want any real strict colors, so we're just blending out the edges here. Now I want to kind of work kind of thinking of our horizon point, or vantage point somewhere maybe over in this area. So we have the slope of the land kind of moving up in this direction and flattening out as we get lower. So try and think of some of those angles to work with them. Right, and I still have some paint up on my brush. I'm just going to find my horizon and use that dirty color. Doesn't have to be straight right now. Just kind of move it across. And it's pretty off, Kaylee. Right, take your brush, measure up to your line. Now the top of my brush is at my line. And that's pretty close. I think I'm gonna just tighten that up a little. And just finish putting in a little bit of color. We don't want this too dark back here. Still working in kind of a trough motion here. I'm not going straight across. I am rocking that back and forth. I just like to do it pretty fast, so. grab my dirty 2-inch brush and just blend this to be nice and soft. Pulling these down, I didn't quite like all of those lines there. So I'm pulling these down and then we'll go across just to really give it a good soft look. Now I'm working with a small space, so I'm just going to lay the brush down flat. I'm just going to soften all of this up here, but I do want to keep some of these lines, so don't get rid of all of those ones. Soften, soften. And I'll just blend this up here. And just blend this out. And we'll work more on this part later. Nice. All right, next we're going to take a rag and establish some of our foamy areas. Now we did leave some of these areas light, that was on purpose, but I'll show you next here. Go ahead and take your 2-inch brush, and right up here on the horizon line we're going to just blend this really softly to just soften that horizon line even more. And you can move up and down just a little bit. You don't want to get too much of these colors blending, but we do want a nice little lavender kind of color right at the horizon. So just blend it nice and soft. There we go. Right, I'm going to pull these dark bits here back even more just to blend so we don't have too much thick paint there. Just pull it straight back. There we go. All right. Now with our dirty Filbert brush, we're going to go underneath this dark area and kind of make this soft shadow right underneath it. Just pull out a little bit of the color and scrub it into the lighter area below. Keep it so that you do have this dark and light difference, but we're just going to soften this a little bit more. Do the same thing on this other wave. Alright, I'm going to use a rag and just wipe out this little area here where I really want there to be a good bit of sunshine coming in. We're just softening in that yellow that we put in a little while ago. Nice. All right, I'm just gonna take a clean rag and rub out some areas for where the foam of these waves are gonna be. I want to try not to get rid of this dark line right on the bottom everywhere, but we can definitely move some of that around. But be sure to try and keep as much of that as you can in most areas. We're just using a rag, moving to clean spots when we need to, and blending this color, and also removing some of it. And already you can see that waves are just showing right up. Right, I'm going to do the same thing to this other wave here. Guess you kind of just pick a spot. It's definitely some way that you might prefer to do it, but right now it doesn't matter too much. Working right on the top of this dark line to swirl around our colors. All right. Be sure to take a step back from your painting to get a good look at it. All right, I'm gonna do a little bit of softening here. Go ahead and take your fan brush with a titanium white and lavender color, phthalo blue and alizarin crimson, kind of going with a little bit of a lighter color, a little bit of white in it, similar to our cloud color. And just wiggle your brush into that paint and pull it out. Working in that same stroke that we've been using all day, just putting in a tiny bit of movement back here. Pick up some more white. Just rock that brush back and forth. Get lots of movement in the water. A little more paint. All the way up there to that horizon line. Now with that white on our fan brush, let's go right into our peach crimson color, a little bit more crimson. We'll apply some of that down in our lower section here. We'll just let that sit in there for a few. There we go. Working with that same gray on our fan brush. We're going to make these waves come to life. And you might need to pick up a little bit of liquid white. We'll see how much of this is going to stick in here. But with a nice and thick paint, we're going to start furthest away on this top wave and just dance in a little bit of highlight up on the top. And just touching and pulling away. Moving around. And as we get into this closer area, try and get a little bit of roundness going on those waves. Layering them, just kind of like clouds actually. Nice. Do the same thing below. You've got just your little gray color. Should be alizarin crimson, phthalo blue, titanium white, and if you need it, which I do, just a tiny bit of liquid white. I'm just tapping on the top of what we just scrubbed out. Now I'm working in a rounded kind of fashion here, since that's the look of the waves. Layering them, just kind of like we do clouds. Think about where the light is going to be hitting this wave. It's going to be right up there on the top, splashing and moving about. Here we go. Now I've got a handful of these nice soft ball sable brush. If you want to use a bigger brush, that works, but this is a soft natural hair brush that works really well for blending out some soft areas, and it's small enough that I can work with it really well. I'm just going to pick up another rag and blend out, starting furthest away, and just blend the bottom in a swirling motion. Just pull that foam over a little bit, make it spin around. Wipe off your brush. You don't want to get too much on there. Swirl that around. Always thinking about the shape of your wave and how you want that to look. And we'll just blend out this foam on the bottom. Okay, I'm going to do the same thing on this next wave here. Nice swirls, moving from left to right. Really think about what these waves are doing. Kind of just rolling up onto the shore, splashing about, spraying some mist. I spent a lot of time at the beach when I was a kid. I do miss it. So if you like beaches and you want to see more beach scenes, let me know in the comments below. You can give them a go. They're still pretty challenging to paint, but I really enjoy it, so we can have some challenges together. For those of you who have made it this far in the painting, if you're painting with me, I'd love to see what you're doing. You can email me, Kaylee at KayleeRakowski.com. You can send me photos of your painting. I'd love to see them and share them. Let me know if that's okay with you, and if not, I'd just love to see them for, just to know what you've got going on. Also, be sure to comment and like below. Let me know what you think about this painting. Was it too hard? Too easy? Not fun enough? I don't know. You can let me know. We'll try and make it better. Just softening these out to get them kind of where I like them. Then I'm going to step back and take a look and see what we're working with. All right, these waves need a little bit of movement. We're going to take our fan brush into that gray color we were working with and a little bit of liquid white. You need it nice and thin for this part. Now we're going to line up our fan brush, working in a flat motion, and just pull over a little bit of waves. Right, we're just below that, a little bit more titanium white so that it'll stick. Still using that gray color. And I'm just going to do a little bit of rocking here with this light color to get some foam in there, a little back here too. Nice. Now I've got my sable brush again. We're just going to soften up a few of these and really bring it together. Want to leave this kind of crashing motion over there. Get just a few more. Got my fan brush turned right on its edge. Flat and down. Isn't that nice? It's the little details. Bring that one out. How about this one here? Nice, there we go. I see one here. I'm just kind of using the corner to just use that thin layer of paint and pull it over. I think I'm gonna stop there and just soften these up. Don't want it to be too bright because it just doesn't quite look right, but if we just soften up those edges, it'll really pop. Kind of always thinking in that the form of your wave here. Oops, trying to trip myself. Just soften these out. All right. Now the last thing we're gonna do probably to this wave, this series of wave here, is add a little bit more foam. In order to add some more foam, we need a tiny bit more of our undertone. So we'll take our dirty Filbert brush, go right into the white. We're looking for a lavender color here. White, nice light. A little more red, that'll do. We'll just swirl in a few. I'm gonna get one right here. Liquid white. Now we'll highlight that with some liquid white. Now we'll highlight that with some titanium white. There we go. Just pops right out. I'm going to add just a little more pop up on that one there. Now these waves are kind of just rolling on in there. Add a little bit more pop up onto these here, a couple areas. Get that splash. 'Cause it's gonna happen. Just kind of blending these down and softening out the base. It also helps to blend those colors in. Okay, I'm gonna take my Filbert brush, kind of just get some of this excess off. I don't know when I got all this glue on me, but it is everywhere. All right, we're just gonna soften up these lines here. I do want this dark line, but I don't want it quite that dark. Just want it just a little softer. So we're using kind of this grayish lavender, softening that line up. Back to my sable brush. I really like this brush for working in small areas. It does do a really good job blending, but obviously it doesn't do as big of a surface. But sometimes you want the right tool for the job. That's what this one is right now. I'm just blending all of this in so that it's nice and soft. I'm gonna wipe off my brush. It's got a little too much paint in it. If it starts pulling stuff around too much, you can just wipe it off and then it'll go right back to blending. Look at that. I'm gonna add just a little bit more to my wave here. Just want a little more volume out of it. Stand it up there. And a little bit here. Just soften that with my big brush. Wipe that off. Soften. Swirl and soften. If it looks like there's too much detail, then it's not going to look like it's far away. So really focus on the stuff that's closer with the detail. All right. I'm going to pick up my script liner and get into a little bit of a darker color. Now you're going to need to thin this down. I have my own brush wash. I'm going to try and link that, make a video of how I make that soon. So you should see that coming up. I want to thin this down so it's kind of like water. I want it to run down the palette. All right, that's looking nice. Twirl your brush into a nice fine point. And we're going to use this to work in some details below this wave back here. I'm going to do the same thing kind of a little bit behind here. I'm going to lighten up the color with a little bit of liquid white. One more time in the front. You can spend more time on this at home. I'm just trying to show you how so that you can give it a go on your own. So we're just going to work in some of these. Just movement. No rhyme or reason. You can do whatever you want. Now we're going to do the same thing with a lighter color. Go a little bit lighter than that. Nice. Kind of just dance in some movement. Right. Sable brush. Soften some of those so we don't have any real harsh spots. Just don't want to have like those big dots in there. Some of them look okay, but you know, you just want to get it to the sweet spot, whatever that is. Remember, water has movement. There's really no like wrong way to do it, because I can guarantee you've probably seen it or somebody has seen it somewhere. Just give it a try. I'm working in flat strokes here, kind of angling as we move further away towards the horizon point. Always pulling mostly flat. And I'm just gonna come up in here onto these darks and just in a couple areas blend it out a little bit more. I just want those to be a little less harsh. Soft blending stroke here. Still doing that rocking motion. All right. Now I want to work a little bit on this sand area here, so we're going to grab our Filbert brush, wipe that off. We want Dyke Brown and Midnight Black. Dyke Brown, Midnight Black. Go ahead and grab a little bit of our blues. Nice dark blue color. And we're going to come in and put some sand on here. We want this nice and dark here. I kind of want to work in just some real dark lines where we have the water that's going to be kind of pulling down the beach here. Little blue, Prussian Blue, Phthalo Blue. While we get closer to the water. Soften that a little. Now I'm going to grab some titanium white. Get that all in the brush. Now with a little bit of a clean brush, we want the titanium white. We're going to come over here with our Dyke Brown. We should be able to get a nice light gray color with these two. We still have some blue on the brush, so that's going to help us. We're just going to put that up in this top area here to kind of lighten it up and give the effect of this looking further away. This is our sand here. So we do want it to be a kind of brown color, but it's really more blue. A little more paint. Just pick out some highlights there. Same color, Dyke Brown, titanium white, dirty brush with blue on it. And I'm just putting in some highlights. Take a clean-ish brush and just soften that. I think I'm gonna tap. Really give it that sand look. Now I'm working in the direction that I want this sand to go. And just letting the brush kind of add in that texture for us. Working with the lines that we created, just soften this into the background. I'm going to wipe off my brush. I want to say for everyone who's still here painting with me, thank you so much. I'm having a blast. This is definitely different than what I'm used to. I generally paint out in public and I don't really talk through it, but I do stop to have conversations. So kind of just talking through the whole thing again is it's been a little bit. So thanks for being patient and being here and enjoying this painting adventure with me. Be sure to like and subscribe down below. Come back to tapping out our sand, working in the direction that we want this to look. Kind of coming up on like a little bit of a hill, just barely there. And down into the dark, really getting those sand taps in there. Right, I'm gonna wipe this off and soften this even more with my brush. I just don't want there to be really any strict lines that are conflicting with the angles here. Right, let's take our nice little sable brush here and soften out this highlight we put into the end of our sand here. And this is just to kind of bring the sand and the sea together in like a seamless look. Or it's supposed to, but let's see if it works out. All right. Let's pick up our palette knife. Grab a little bit of titanium white that has blue in it. There we go, titanium white. Let's make it a little lavender. We're just going to add this up to our horizon line up here. Starting in the middle, just tap and move away. And with our sable brush, again, we're just going to rock out the bottom of that highlight we just put on. Just use your rocking motion side to side and blend out the base. Nice work. Really blend that out. Right, I've taken a real wet fan brush and going into my Dyke Brown. We want a really thin paint here. Dyke Brown, Midnight Black, titanium white. Okay, this is a really thin paint, and this should work with your palette knife. We're just going to splash on some rocks and stuff. Get a little bit more paint going. It does have to be real thin for this to work. This just adds a little bit of texture. It's pretty fun. You don't have to do it though if you don't like it. That's definitely up to you. Get a little bit of light, liquid white. Got a lighter color. A little more. Almost there. All right. Now we're gonna take some titanium white, go into whichever blue mixture you might have, and we want a thinner color. We don't want this to be as thick as just the titanium white. And in that blue tone, now we're gonna pull it out nice and flat and cut across to get that nice roll of paint on the end of your brush. And we'll work in our first little bit of waves here. Just pulling it, pushing down and pulling in the direction flat towards the base of our wave here. Giving it a little bit of a wiggle there. And you do want to kind of pull some of that paint, push down as you pull it back. It really gives a good effect there. Now we want to mix up a slightly different color. You need to wipe off a spot. Right, titanium white. Got a clean palette knife. And we're going to come up here and grab some bright red. Tiny bit of our peach color. And liquid white. You just want to thin it down a little bit. So it should be about a medium texture. Flatten that out. When we have it nice and flat, we're going to cut across to get that little roll of paint. And we're working in this next wave. Pretty small back here. And it's going to get a little bit bigger. And I'm pushing down with the knife. You'll get this breakout on the front. And with our sable brush, we're just going to really softly blend out the back of those waves, wave line things we just put on. Very soft, just kind of pull them back a little bit. Wipe off your brush. Pull these down toward our waves. We're getting flatter here as we move closer, straight across now. Okay. Now with my sable brush, I'm going to go into this light color here and just pull over a few areas where I want it to be a little brighter. Just using a thick titanium white now to add the tops of some of these waves. One more cut across on our peach tone. Just fix this one up here. Kind of just pulling a little bit of that thick paint right where I really want to elevate. And really make that pop. Want this peach tone right there. We've got a little bit left from our cloud. Go ahead and just play around with some colors. Pink, blue, light. Don't be afraid to put in some colors that we have up here from the sun. Just dancing off of these, the tops of our water here. Just a tiny bit more of that, and we're going to kind of punch it in on our wave right here on the top. Here, just tap a little bit. Pick up your sable brush. Just tap that into this beautiful peach mist. And we'll take our blue watercolor and we're just going to put in a few more water lines where you just think they really ought to be. Script liner, titanium white and phthalo blue, I'm just going to kind of dance in a few sparkles here and there. Maybe over here. Alright, with our sable brush, we'll just do one last bit of blending here. Just soften this water right into a nice reflection. Just gently blending it back. I'm going to take my script liner brush, some Prussian Blue and Midnight Black, just right on the end here. I'm going to put in a few dark spots under these. Sable brush, soften that up. All right, now I'm just going to tap out some of these colors. They just got a little too loud for me. Nice and soft sandy beaches back here. You know, there's always a little bit of kind of these water lines that go across on the top of the sand. Put them in, or leave them out. But I think I'm gonna call that good, just about there. One last thing before I finish, so I'm just gonna add a tiny bit more highlight to those clouds, like I said we might. Titanium white, bright red. Ooh, that was a little more than I needed. Let's dull that down. Should have a nice little peach color. Just going to dance that in. It should be just a little bit lighter than what you had on there. We just want to make a little bit of this pop. Just blend that out. Alright, with our sable brush, just do one last soften of these colors on their beach here. And that's designer painting. Get a nice thin down paint. I like to use bright red because it stands out most. Nice and thin. And pick a spot and go for it. The last thing is to take off our tape and see how it looks. Ooh, I'm nervous. We're all finished. I hope you liked this scene and enjoyed this painting with me. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Please be sure to like and subscribe. I'm gonna try and do more of these, so let me know what you want to see. Smile and be happy, friends.